Hello, my name is Ron Peterson, and welcome to the training session for the 2018 Rice Street Gardens. Some of the rules have changed, and so even if you've been in the garden for a couple of years, please listen carefully. There's some new information that you need to understand for the upcoming year. One thing on this introductory slide you should all know about is the website name, ricestreetgardens.org. From time to time we'll have information about new events, things that you should be aware of, and so check that out from time to time, ricestreetgardens.org. These are the people who founded the garden, me being one, Ron Peterson, and hopefully you get to know us all and talk to us from time to time. We'll be at the garden quite often. We're also looking for cultural leaders and translators who can help us, in particular people who can translate Karen English or Nepali to English. There could be a stipend available for people who can perform this service for us. One thing you should be aware of is that the garden, we want people to be there between sunrise and sunset, and maybe not quite that much, but certainly not after dark or before the sun rises. The other date you should be aware of is October 20th. This is when the water department wants us to completely remove all fences and cut everything down. So that's the closeout date for the garden. We do expect everyone to spend some time helping us out on general garden tasks. Those will be happening probably in the next 4 Saturdays or so, kind of starting around 9 in the morning and going till 11 or 11:30. Things that we're going to be doing early on are moving the compost, mowing the open spaces and so on, moving and cleaning the new water tanks. They're starting to get a little moldy, and that's going to be a lot of work to scrub them out and clean them up. We also want to check for tools and things that we got to put up stakes that are missing and so on, and put new plot tags on. So when you get your plot, you'll be able to go out there and see exactly where you're supposed to be. So one of the things we keep trying to explain each year is that we want you to bring home trash. So when you work in the garden and you get rubber gloves or pop bottles and so on, ideally you should take those home at the end of the day. If there's things that you want to keep in your garden, please just put it in the corner of your garden. And the last thing we want you to do, the thing that we hate the most, is when people throw it onto the compost piles. That kind of stuff does not degrade and turn into dirt, which is what we want the compost to do. So please, whatever you do, don't put it in the pathways or put it in the compost piles. Take it home or put it in a small space within your garden. The other thing you should be aware of is that water is available because of the timer we have from 8 in the morning till 8 at night. And so that's one reason we have the giant tanks, so that you can use them after 8 o'clock. A lot of people stay till 9:30 in the summer because it's still light. So if you're there in the morning, you're one of the morning gardeners, you can certainly water, but also if you see one of the tanks is low, please fill it up. It takes about 1 hour to fill a tank totally, so take that into account, put the hose in there and turn it on, and try to fill them up sometime in the mornings, so that later in the day, when the water is turned off, other people can take water from the tanks using the buckets and take it to their gardens that way. So from 8 to 8, there's water. That's it. As I said before, we really don't like it when you put trash or rocks, and especially rocks, in the pathways. Because when we're mowing the pathways and the grass is getting thick, we can't see rocks in there, so it really wrecks the mowers if we happen to hit a rock. But there's also other things like buckets. A lot of people just put their buckets full of water out into the pathways, which is very annoying if you're a mower and trying to get through everywhere. So very often we'll put those back in the gardens, but it'd be better if you did that yourself. Keep your stuff in the garden or take it home if it's trash. As you know, Rice Street Garden is an organic only garden, so we don't want you to use pesticides or artificial fertilizers and things like that. There should be plenty of compost to use for creating good soil in your garden, and so we want you to do that because it's important overall for us not to put chemicals in the garden. Also, maybe it's obvious, but we want people to be careful about not swearing, not bringing animals to the garden, or smoking, or using alcohol, or having guns in the garden. All those things are off limits, and if we see people doing that, we will, you could lose your garden plot if you do that. If you bring your children or your other people to the garden, make sure that you manage them so the children aren't running wild and picking things and doing things they shouldn't be doing. So it's your responsibility to make sure the children are under control and doing good stuff. The other thing in general we like is for you to be a good neighbor. Get to know the people around you. I'll say more about that in a second. But don't do things like plant 20-foot sunflowers which completely shade your neighbor's garden. That's not friendly, and it's better if you just talk things over, find out what works. Don't let things grow into the neighbor's yard, for example. Everybody gets a 16 by 20-foot plot, which should be adequate for a family to grow a ton of vegetables and things. Another thing we really want to avoid is letting people grow their garden, letting their weeds grow up in their gardens. This especially happens when people go on vacations. One person was gone for 6 weeks, didn't tell us, and the weeds were this high, and as a result, we thought they were gone. So we gave the garden away to somebody else. So if you're going away, always tell somebody, Sherry or Catherine or me or one of the cultural leaders, that you're going to be gone and for how long. That way we won't worry about it. But in general, we expect people to keep their garden in good order, so try to keep the weeds down as much as possible. That also goes for the pathways that are right along right on the edge of your garden. A lot of times weeds will grow up there, so try to rip those out from time to time. We have a lot of tools at the garden. We've got rakes and hoes and shovels and whatnot, wheelbarrows and so on, and quite a few buckets. So you're free to use those big things. And what we'd like, though, is when you're finished using them for the day, please take them back by the shed or one of the other store areas where we collect that kind of stuff. So don't just leave 6 shovels in your garden, then other people can't have access to them. The other thing is if you need small tools, and you certainly do for gardens, those are something we don't provide. So try to bring your own small tools and so on. Those are yours. Okay. You all know where the garden is. It's over across the street from the church here. We think that there's adequate parking in the area in front of the garden for almost any event, even when we have many people arriving. So try to park there. There's also some space back over here behind these trees where people could park if they needed. Between there and in front of the road, there should be plenty of parking for everyone. So now some people live across the street, and we recommend that if you're walking to the garden that you don't dash across Rice Street and get yourself injured. If you have a chance, walk down to the corner and come that way. This is for safety purposes, and be careful. There are some large tools available. There's usually 2 mowers there at least, and a tiller, a mechanical gas-powered tiller. There should be also gas cans to keep these filled up so you can use them. And especially in the beginning of the season, a lot of people want to use this, so just be patient while somebody else is using it. And don't use it for a whole day, let other people have a chance. So those are available and can help you get the garden going. This year we have a new rule. This is something that you should be aware of. There are regions of the garden where we're hoping people will form sort of friendship teams, get to know each other better. And in fact, what we have, like in this area, everybody in that area will get wristbands, 2 per garden, in the color that for that region. So you should be able to see the people that normally would be in the green region. They should be wearing their wristbands. And if you see somebody without a wristband going through and grabbing stuff from multiple gardens, then that's probably a problem. You should give someone a call, Sherry or one of the cultural leaders, somebody who lives close by. You could talk to the person and say, what are you doing? Looks like you're just grabbing stuff. and tell them they can't do that. Or if somebody is drinking or smoking, it's okay to interrupt them and tell them they shouldn't do that. If people won't stop doing something wrong, then you should give Sherry or Catherine a call. They live close by. Or if it's really, really bad, you can call the police. But there will be signs up showing the phone numbers for all these people that you could call. And the other thing, these teams, like the green team or the purple team, from time to time we'll have them do certain tasks. Like the green purple team here might be asked to take care of this compost pile. This team, there's all sorts of junk along this pathway. We may ask this group to take responsibility for clearing that out. Generally speaking, you should get to know who's in that region. So if you're over here, you should kind of start to recognize people that are there and create some friendships. So anyway, we hope that this is something that will happen. But the key thing to know is that you should wear your wristband at all times when you're in the garden. Each family will have two. If we have visitors, they will be wearing a rainbow-colored wristband, so you can tell if there's some people who are visiting the garden. We've had a lot of trouble in the past with our big compost piles, which Roseville's been bringing every Friday morning. And this really is for the Rice Street Gardens, not for the 3 other gardens that you might have. Sometimes we see people loading the compost into their car or truck and then taking it home or whatever and using it there. It's really for use at Rice Street Gardens. And also sometimes we've seen families have 20 wheelbarrows taking it all to their garden. Recognize that everybody would like to have access to the compost when it's there on Friday morning or over the weekend. And so don't try to take it all. You can 4 or 5 wheelbarrows full, and that should be enough. In addition to the website, you should check the bulletin board from time to time because we'll have special information there, parties during the summer or get-togethers and other maybe rule changes. So there's important information there. Take a look at that from time to time. This year, because of the coronavirus problems, we are trying to make the payment and sign up as simple as possible. One option is to simply send a cash or a check to Dana Ferguson at the address shown here. Or you can go to our website, ricestreetgardens.org, find the tab top for fee, and then either using PayPal or use your credit card, you can make the payment that way. So please try to do one of those as soon as possible. Thanks, that is all.